If you are building a DIY power station or battery bank, you've probably seen these inexpensive DC 8 to 100 volt battery capacity meters. They look impressive. They, they display battery voltage, percentage, and other information. They are extremely cheap with a proper battery monitor. But after using it with a 6L's lithium iron phosphate battery, I discovered something that I think anyone considering buying this meter should know. So in this video, I'm going to give you my honest experience with this meter. This is DC. According to the manufacturer, it can measure 8 to 100 volts DC voltage. It can measure 8 to 100 volts DC voltage and also measure capacity, that is the battery, the remaining capacity of the battery and all of that. But let's ride on and see, watch and see. It has a display for voltage and battery percentage and also has button for configuring. You see this button is set and this button is on and off. If I want to off it now, let me off it, and this to on it. You can also set it in a way that if you turn this on, if you just if you just turn it on, it can go off within 5 seconds. You can set it as in the settings. So that's just it. All right. So according to the specification, it supports several battery chemistry, lead acid battery, lithium ion battery, and lithium ion phosphate battery. And this one I got, it doesn't have alarm system, and it doesn't also have temperature measurement. It doesn't have both of them. I think I didn't even know. I just choose this one and this I got this one. So that's it. But they all do the same thing except for this one doesn't measure the temperature and the alarm doesn't you don't have the cutoff alarm and over voltage alarm and the rest of it. So this one doesn't have it. So the installation of this is very simple. You basically just connect the positive and negative wire of the battery, configure the battery type and voltage parameters, and you are ready to go. Uh, if you want to configure the battery type, let me show you. For the purpose of this video, I will just show you for lithium ion phosphate battery. So I'll just long press this set. It shows you this in angle. This is live PO4 battery, and this is this 6 is the number of cells that you've got. So mine is 6 cells, that is 6 cells in series. So if I want to change it, I'll click this button, this on and off button. It will change the numbers. I think till 23. So and the least, the minimum is 3. So let's go back to 6. And then when you are done, you just press this. It takes you back to the home screen. This is particularly noticeable with live PO4 battery. Now here is where my problem with this meter starts. The percentage displayed on the screen is not actually measuring how much energy is stored inside the battery. It's primarily estimating the battery state of charge from its voltage, and this becomes a major problem when you're using a live PO4 battery. For example, if my battery voltage changes because I connect a load to the battery, the meter sees the voltage change and can immediately change the percentage displayed on the screen. But the battery obviously didn't suddenly lose a large percentage of its capacity in few seconds. In fact, as the battery recovers the voltage, it goes back, and then you know that after charging a live PO4 battery, sometimes battery enters a state of rest where it goes back to a particular voltage, and that's the percentage it will calculating it based on that. And so this I'm not think I don't think this is what you are looking for, because this doesn't actually display the capacity of the battery. It doesn't tell you how many energy that's left in your battery. So this is particularly noticeable with LiPo4 batteries because their voltage curve is very flat through much of their usable capacity. In other words, voltage isn't particularly good indicator of exactly how much energy is remaining. Two batteries can have very similar voltage while having noticeable different state of charge, and the opposite can also happen. The voltage can change because of charging, discharging, temperature, or the battery settings after a load is removed without the actual load capacity changing by the same amount. That is why I don't consider the percentage reading from this meter to be a reliable representation of the actual remaining capacity of a LiFePO4 battery. Let me show you what I mean. I'm looking at this battery with a small load. I think just maybe one light bulb that is on. You can see the percentage. You can see the percentage, that's 19.4 volt. But if I add load, let me add load now, just a load, you can see the percentage change. Now I added the load and immediately the percentage change. Now does it mean that this battery lost energy immediately I plugged in the load? No, it doesn't mean that. It just, this doesn't really represent. For example, if I add a bigger load that might make this voltage drop to 18 volts, this will immediately drop, the percentage will immediately drop. So this is not a good representation of the capacity that is remaining. Now, I don't want to say that this meter is useless. It isn't. The voltage reading can still be useful and the display itself is convenient. If you just want a simple voltage indicator, this can be useful, or rather you can just get yourself a voltmeter depending on what you want. Maybe the display is nice and the rest of them, yeah, it also helps you set the number of cells you have. And depending on the battery chemistry and the particular application, a voltage-based percentage estimate can be more useful than it is with LiFePO4. Maybe lead acid battery, this can be better, maybe. But personally, I will not buy this meter specifically because I expect the percentage number to accurately tell me how much capacity is left with in my battery or in my power bank or anything. If you want a much more meaningful battery percentage, what we really want is a coulomb counting battery monitor. These monitors use a shunt installed in the battery circuit. The shunt allows the monitor to measure how much current is flowing into and out of the battery. Some of them, when you get it, you have to even set your battery capacity. If your battery is 100 ampere hour, you set it maybe 200 ampere hour, you set it. Now this allows the meter to measure all these things. A coulombs meter, too much more expensive, maybe 3 or 4 times more expensive than this, but it will actually is worth it. So what's my final verdict on this voltmeter? As a voltage meter useful, as basic battery indicator useful, as an accurate battery and percentage meter for LiFePO4, I will not rely on it. If you are buying this specifically because you want accurate battery percentage, I would recommend spending a little more and getting a proper shunt based column counter instead. That's my honest experience with this meter. I'm not saying the product is bad, I'm saying the way it determines battery percentage has limitation, and those limitations are particularly important when you're using a LiFePO4. If you are building a DIY battery bank like I am, I hope this review saves you from buying the wrong type of battery monitor. If you found this video useful, consider subscribing because I'll be documenting more of my DIY power bank and solar projects, including the mistakes and the experiment and the things that actually work. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.